في كتير طرق وسط الحياة تاهوا فيها ناس وطرق تبان مفروشة ورد وتنتهي بألم وضيق، لكن الطريق للفرحة وطريق الخلاص عند المسيح. أصل المسيح هو الحياة، هو الطريق 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 الطريق
Welcome to The Way TV. Always glad to be back on. We're going to show you a whole lot of clips here linking in the Muslim Brotherhood to mosques in the United States, back to ISIS, the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, the Caliphate, which is global. That's just a beachhead over there in Iraq. Don't think for a second that they're only interested in that part of the world of Syria and Iraq. No, they are intent on going global. I'm going to show you a clip here in a few seconds of a lady in Egypt, an Egyptian lady, telling Obama to shut up. The reason she's telling him to shut up is because Obama is supporting the Muslim Brotherhood, which is actually supporting ISIS over there, and we'll show some pictures of that. So, clip number one, we'll begin with clip number one.
ورسالة بقى لأوباما. Listen your Obama. We are Egyptian women. You are listen Obama. Shut up your mouth Obama. Shut up your mouth Obama. Sisi yes, Sisi yes. Morsi no, Morsi no. Sisi yes, Sisi yes. Morsi no, Morsi no. ورسالة لك يا جلد الحنطور. مهما تلف ومهما تدور مش هنرجع المعزول.
Okay, good. We're going to show that in a cartoon form also. Now, the reason she is saying that, if you could bring up a picture of Mohammed here, this fellow, yeah, that guy right there, his name is Mohammed El-Abiari. He is a Obama appointee to Homeland Security. The four fingers where it says R4BIA, the four fingers is the logo for the Muslim Brotherhood. And the Egyptians, General Sisi, they said no. They said no. They kicked out Morsi, and they brought in the general. They would rather be under military rule, General Sisi, than be under the Muslim Brotherhood. So it's a matter of degrees of how much peace, order, liberty, and prosperity they're going to get. Under the Muslim Brotherhood, they're going to get the highest degree of hostility, disorder, slavery, poverty, and misogyny. So if you could show the other picture of the other guy, Hussam Ayloush, from Facebook. Yeah. Now, this guy here, this is very significant because you notice he's got the four fingers next to him there too. He's a leader of the mosque, one of the leaders of the mosque, the giant mosque in Southern California, and he's also a huge leader in the Muslim Brotherhood. Over the top of the four fingers, what you saw there was support for ISIS. Now, I happen to know epistemologically that these guys, the four fingers, the Muslim Brotherhood, are ISIS and the part of the global caliphate they want to spread globally, worldwide. So that's why that lady in that first clip was complaining the Egyptians don't want the Muslim Brotherhood in there. They don't want Obama bothering and molesting Egypt because Obama wants the Muslim Brotherhood to control Egypt. And frankly, the Egyptian Muslim Brotherhood, while it has been outlawed by General Sisi, by the government of Egypt, is still very, very powerful, and they have cells and divisions all over the world, and their whole idea is to take over the whole world. Very fascinating. Okay, so the first clip is a lady live. The second clip is the same lady, but in cartoon form. I thought it was pretty funny, and actually it's extremely serious because it's all about the bloodshed and the murder. What did Mohammed do? What would Mohammed do? Well, what ISIS is doing in Iraq is exactly what the Muslim Brotherhood and ISIS and the Four Finger guys will do all over the world, beginning in every mosque in Europe, in the West, in the United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, India, everywhere. Okay, clip number 2.
This is message again to Obama. Please, please listen to me. Very good, Obama. We are Egyptian women.
What the heck was that? What's going on there?
Please, Obama, I wanted to see you.
Who in the world was that?
Why? Why did you, Obama?
Why, oh, why, oh, why?
Why did you intrude in X-Factor in Egypt?
What a day. Are you crazy?
In X-Factor in Egypt belong to Egyptian only.
Oh, no.
The brothers Hood are big liars. The brothers Hood is Egyptian woman.
Oh, brother.
Nobody believes a liar. The brothers Hood is a big liar. And Muhammad Morsi is Egyptian woman.
Oh, brother. How did that happen?
Please, Obama. Enough. Stop, Obama. Shut up your mouth, Obama.
Why me?
Shut up your mouth, Obama. And we are Egyptian women. See you too. We are not anything helps Egyptian woman. Obama is Egyptian woman.
Okay, so seriously, in humor, in satire, in being humorous like that, you get a lot more truth than if you're fair and balanced, which I don't believe in. I believe in proof, evidence, and facts. I'm not interested in listening to somebody else who's got the facts all wrong. I like facts, evidence, and proof. And what's going on in Egypt right now is they're absolutely pleased and happy. In fact, when I walked into the studio today, I was watching Ramadan, and I actually saw some Christian leaders in celebrating breaking the fast with some Muslims there, and I thought, wow. Okay, so anyways, and here on clip number 16, the next clip that we show, clip number 16, Helen Thomas, who is deceased now, is asking a very simple question, and that is, why do all these terrorists want to kill us? Is it about religion? And the leader of the CIA, the current leader of the CIA, John Brennan, tries to answer her and tries to dissuade, no, it has nothing at all to do with religion. But after this clip, I will do the best I can in as short amount of time, cogently as I can, to expose that indeed all common law does flow from some type of religion. Okay, clip number 16.
Security around the world.
Was there an outside contractor used for security in Amsterdam? And also, what is really lacking always for us is you don't give the motivation of why they want to do us harm.
I should take the first part, and then John, you can address the second.
The screening at Schiphol Airport was done by Dutch authorities, and They did the screening that was described to you earlier this afternoon. The hand luggage was screened. The passport was checked. He went through a magnetometer, but it was done by Dutch authorities.
And what is the motivation? I mean, you never hear what you find out or why.
Al-Qaeda is an organization that is dedicated to murder and wanton slaughter of innocents. What they have done over the past decade and a half, 2 decades, is to attract individuals like Mr. Abdul Muttallah and use them for these types of attacks. He was motivated by a sense of religious sort of drive. Unfortunately, Al-Qaeda has perverted Islam and has corrupted the concept of Islam so that he's able to attract these individuals. But Al-Qaeda has the agenda of destruction and death.
And you're saying it's because of religion?
I'm saying it's because of an Al-Qaeda organization that uses the banner of religion in a very perverse and corrupt way.
Why?
I think this is a long issue, but Al-Qaeda is just determined to carry out attacks here against the homeland.
But you haven't explained why.
Can we clear up a couple of things, either one of you?
Okay, so there's all of the media type, and the only one that gets it, she's now passed away, Helen Thomas. She's in her 80s there, but she's dead on red. She's absolutely 100%. She says, why did they want to blow us up? You mean religion? And then the leader, the current leader of the CIA today, John Brennan, comes back and says that Al-Qaeda has perverted Islam. No, absolutely not. Al-Qaeda has gotten it right. Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, Mujahideen, Taliban, the Abu Sayyaf, all of the different groups that are killing and attacking ISIS, all these guys are under the heading of what did Muhammad do in the Quran, which I've showed, I never like to exaggerate or use hyperbole, but 5 million times on this show. And multiple times in the Quran, at least 22 times, I will read some of the verses here. The chapter, and a chapter is a surah. So Surah 332, Surah 132, Surah 14, 413, Surah 459, Surah 469, Surah 592, Surah 81, Surah 820, Surah 846, Surah 971, Surah 2447, and on and on and on and on and on. It was real simple. The Quran tells the good Mohammedan, follower of Islam, which really is right there. The Quran has said, follow Muhammad. It says, do what Allah and His messenger, the Prophet Muhammad, did. And what's happening with ISIS and the suicide bombers, and Helen Thomas is noting, why do they want to harm us? Why do they want to kill us? Because that is Islam. In Surah 860, which is the motto of the logo of the Muslim Brotherhood with the 2 crossed swords, and Surah 860 says, terrify and basically kill and strike off the heads of all of the infidels, which is me and those of you who do not follow what Muhammad did. And frankly, Muslims who claim to be Muslims, but they reject the doing what Muhammad did, they, in my opinion, are apostates, which is good for me, good for you. I would much prefer to have them being the opposite of Muhammad, because Muhammad, he solved all crises and all problems with just getting violent, which is what you see in ISIS. But here, I'm showing that clip to you, which seems so innocuous and innocent, but it's right at the center of the problem of all of our leaders, Republican and Democrat, absolutely refusing to understand how dangerous Islam is, the very molecular composition of Islam, or the DNA, if you will, is all what did Muhammad do. And Muhammad was a very dangerous person. So again, we're coming back again and again and again to what did Muhammad do, and who are these folks, the Muslim Brotherhood, as we see this leader appointed by Obama. Now, don't think, Republicans, don't think that you're off the hook, because I have all kinds of proof, evidence, and facts that George W. Bush allowed the Muslim Brotherhood into the White House. The leader of the Islamic Society of North America, the supreme leader of the Muslim Brotherhood of America, got in there and handed a Quran to George W. Bush. I have met that man several times. He knows me. I know him. And he's a very clever man who is Muslim Brotherhood. So He may say he's Mr. Peaceful and whatnot, but if he's Muslim Brotherhood, he aspires and he has taken an oath of allegiance to the Quran to replace the Constitution of the United States. That's in their motto. And also he believes in Surah 860 to strike terror into the infidels and kill them. Now, Muslim Brotherhood, we've got Obama, the first two clips. Then we've got Helen Thomas trying to talk to the leader of Homeland Security, Janet Napolitano, and the future leader of the CIA, who both absolutely discount religion and Islam being part of all of the problems we're having today with violence. In fact, John Brennan, CIA honcho, says that Al-Qaeda has perverted Islam. No, John, you have. Islam is not peaceful by its nature. 1,400 years of history proves that. History is prologue. All right, let's bring in Bill Clinton with the Muslim Brotherhood leader, Morsi. Clip number 3. Clip number 3.
It is now my great honor to bring to the stage our final guest speaker, a man who used to teach material science in California, but was sufficiently unscarred by his academic experience that he managed to become the elected president of a democratic Egypt, a man who faces profound challenges and sees profound opportunities. And I am very grateful that he came by today to talk about both those things and what he hopes will happen next. Please welcome to the stage President Mohammed Morsi of Egypt.
Okay, so Mohammed Morsi is Muslim Brotherhood. He's a murderous thug, and he's being celebrated because he was a teacher in California. I'm not sure if that's really a good credential or not. All right, now let's go back to the well. Let's bring another Muslim Brotherhood, another murderous thug. In fact, he's former head of intelligence of Saudi Arabia. And if you're in charge of the Saudi Arabia Intelligence Department, that means that you're a murderous thug. It's that simple. Okay, clip number 4, clip number Arba.
Thank you and welcome to the closing session. This is a very busy and crowded and I think interesting one, which will conclude with remarks by the President of Egypt, and President Morsi and I just had a very good meeting. I'm looking very much forward to his remarks. But I will move right into this. First, I want to invite to the stage to make a couple of remarks Prince Turki Al Fazl of Saudi Arabia. Those of you who were there yesterday in the session know that I said that he and I went to college together and that everybody knew he was going to amount to something, but no one knew that I would. And it may have turned out that way. He, for more than 2 decades, was the head of the Saudi intelligence services. And I said, at least when I was president, he didn't have to spy on the United States. He could just call me and I'd tell him. But we have been friends, and he has been a faithful member of CGI after serving as his nation's ambassador to the United Kingdom and the United States. He spends his time thinking about the future of his country and trying to help organize it in a good direction. And he had a few things he wanted to say, so I welcome him to the platform. Prince Turki Fazl. Thank you, Michael. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. President Clinton, ladies and gentlemen, those who remark on my un-New York-like attire
I can only take so much of that murderous thug up there. 2 decades, 20 years. How many people did he throw in prison? How many people did he have their hands, feet, head cut off by the chop square guys? Oh, and by the way, the next two clips are with the Republican leader, George W. Bush. Let us see here. Ah, yes, George W. Bush. In the next clip that I show will be dancing with the sword dancers, the employees of Prince Turkey, friend of Bill Clinton, and the employees of Prince Turkey, the murderous thug, used these chop guys with the swords to kill people he didn't like. No due process, no First Amendment, no Bill of Rights, none of the stuff that we treasure. No majority rules with minority rights. You can forget that stuff big time. Also, that's done by the Clinton Global Initiative, and he's got all these thugs and murderers in there, and yet so does George W. Bush. As I know for a fact, both the Republicans and the Democrats are in bed with the Muslim Brotherhood. I know for a fact. Okay, so we will watch clip number 5, and we'll see how good of a boogaloo George W. Bush does with the chop guys in Saudi Arabia. Charming, little strange for our Western eyes. George W. Bush, I know that some of those are dubbed in and synced out and whatnot, but we have all of the proof, evidence, and facts of George W. Bush dancing with the chop guys, and they made it rather entertaining, rather humorous as a matter of fact. But I'm sure if you were in Saudi Arabia, or I was in Saudi Arabia, and we had just been convicted by Prince Turkey, the erstwhile leader of Saudi Arabian intel for 2 decades, and said that he was also the ambassador to the UK and to the United States. Wow. I'm sure if we were to walk in and watch that scene of those guys dancing around with the swords, I don't think we would find it humorous, because we would be in there to have our feet cut off, or our hands cut off, or our head cut off. You see, there's little or no due process, as we understand, in the Western world, and there's certainly no freedom of religion. There's no freedom of the people to peaceably assemble to petition the government for redress of grievances. That's not part of Sharia law. But cutting off hands, leg, heads, the stuff that you're seeing in ISIS right now, yeah, that indeed is what did Mohammed do, and that is what would the Muslim Brotherhood do. And that would be what Mohammed, the guy here, Ella Biari, why don't you go ahead and put his picture back up here. So this creepy dude, Adam, there you go, thank you. So that creepy dude, you can take him off. So that creepy dude there is on Homeland Security, and his whole idea is to work as a fifth columnist or a 007 James Bond, if you will, behind the scenes to little by little just bribe and bribe and bribe. In fact, until we replace the Constitution with Sharia law. The death knell of every constitutional republic, the death knell of every republic is always foreign money, because people have to run for office, and George W. Bush or Bill Clinton are meeting with those people and yucking it up with those people and glad-handing those people because they're sluts, they're prostitutes for cash. Now we will watch George W. Bush again in a mosque with the Muslim Brotherhood, working with the Muslim Brotherhood. Clip number 6.
Well, thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir. It's good to be with you again. God bless you. And it is my honor to visit the Islamic Center of Washington once again. For half a century, this beautiful mosque has served as a place of worship for Muslims and has helped to advance understanding between people of different faiths. Millions of our fellow Americans practice the Muslim faith. They lead lives of honesty and justice and compassion. I'm pleased to join you today in the celebration of Eid, the culmination of the holy month of Ramadan.
I'm just showing that proof, evidence, and facts. You got Clinton on one side, you got Bush on the other side. They're both going to the same financial trough, Saudi Arabia, Muslim Brotherhood funded group. They're the guys who support ISIS and everything that you're seeing there, chop, chop, square. You can see it. They have absolutely nothing that they want to do with our concept of due process, with justice and things of that nature, how to treat women. This show repeatedly, I show people how horrible it is that the women are treated. Now, I used, for a short while, very short while, because of what I did in Vietnam, I was brought back as a consultant, I don't know, advisor, I don't know really what my role was, paid $500 an hour to try to teach the Marines going over to Iraq how we operated in Vietnam, gathering human intelligence through the Combined Action Program. I made the big mistake, although in retrospect and at that time, in fact, I didn't make a mistake. I stuck to my guns, I stuck to my principles, and I told the Marine Corps I would not take their $500 an hour. I was teaching, and when we were discussing how crazy and insane Mohammed was, we were doing that to give the background that what did Mohammed do is the basis of Islamic battle planning for ISIS. And when you see on YouTube, if it's not scrubbed, I saw it today, I posted it, and it was quickly scrubbed, where they were bashing people in the head and then blowing their heads off and whatnot, which I believe is part of a constitutional republic under the First Amendment. We as citizens need to have this information. If we're sending our boys over there to fight front line, I'm saying front line, if we're sending our kids there to be eyeball to eyeball, toe to toe, as my son was, fighting in less than 20 feet away, which sometimes happened to me in Vietnam several times, that we need to know how these guys think, how they battle plan, what they do. And in fact, what I was trying to teach the Marines would have saved probably the problem with ISIS today. Now, I was rejected by the full colonel operating under the two-star general with 1st Marine Expeditionary Force for telling the truth. In fact, the Marine colonel who fired me said that the Pentagon had commanded him to be politically correct, and that meant nobody could criticize Islam or Mohammed. And when I said, hey, I'm a former battle planner for 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines, and I had tons of combat experience in Vietnam, and we both know you have to know your enemy. And all I'm doing is showing you how these folks, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Taliban, Boko Haram, Mujahideen, all these guys, how they battle plan. And it really caught the full colonel off guard. And he said, well, Mr. Klein, that may be correct, but I've been commanded by the Pentagon that I have to be politically correct, and that means you have to be politically correct, which is a total setup for our failure in Iraq. 100% failure in Iraq. Once our military leaders, CIA, FBI, Homeland Security, they all reject what I'm saying right now out of political correctness, just as that's why I showed that clip with John Brennan, who's now in charge of the CIA, getting it completely wrong. Religion has everything to do with common law. Had the Marine commander been honest and open to understanding Muhammad and what did Muhammad do, and implemented his battle plan in accordance with that, he would have been relieved of duty by the Pentagon, because the Pentagon said, you can't criticize Islam or Muhammad. In other words, you can't tell the truth. In other words, censorship. In other words, you just lost the First Amendment. Now, I know the military has a very limited First Amendment in a battle zone, but I also know that under the First Amendment, having been an officer in the Marine Corps and a battle planner, that the guy in charge demanded that I tell him the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and he told me if all I brought him was good news, he was going to fire me. He wanted to know the bad news so he could solve problems. Well, once the Marine Corps, Army, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, CIA, FBI, all these, Homeland Security, said, oh, religion has nothing to do with it, that Al-Qaeda is a spin-off, perverted spin-off of Islam, game was over. The die was cast. ISIS and the collapse of Iraq was imminent. They refused to factor it in. I have a number of my friends and relatives who were in Iraq and Afghanistan and saw all the corruption and the greed, the giveaway of our weapons and things of that nature to the guys who are now ISIS. People in the United States, intellectuals in the United States today, through chronological ethnocentricity, thinking that our time we are smarter and wiser than people from days gone by. And the people who wrote the books and the political science that created our Constitution were Neanderthals and not worthy of our intelligence merely because they were unable to have Facebook or modern medicine or put man on the moon. But the idea of morality and the idea of government and law goes back 6,000 years to recorded history. And all governments are based on some common law, some culture, some morality, some law held in common. It's so simple to understand that people just walk by it. Kind of like when Sherlock Holmes would say, you know, if I tell you how I solved this crime, you will say, that's so simple I don't want to pay attention. But what Sherlock Holmes would do is ask them, so how did I solve this crime? And of course they could not do it. And then once they saw how he did it, then they would say, oh, gee, how simple it was. But that was after frustrating hours of not being able to solve it. And so it is with common law, too. Whether you live in India under the common law of the Hindus, or in World War II, Japan, you lived under the common law of Shintoism, of worshiping the emperor. Or if you live under the common law of Islam, or you live under the common law of the United States, it all comes back. I know this is hard for the chronological ethnocentrists of today who think they're so damn smart. When it comes to technology, they are. But when it comes to understanding morality, they're not. An example I use how they place science and technology over the Neanderthals of those who really are concerned about morality. And the Tea Party is guilty of this too. For example, I would say technology without morality is merely a menace to society. Technology without morality is merely a menace to society. If I have a hammer, do I crush a child's skull, or do I build a house for the child? If I have a clock, do I tell time, or do I build a time bomb? If I have a cell phone, do I call mom on Mother's Day, or do I dial a number and blow up a suicide bomber miles and miles away? If I'm a medical doctor, do I use my technology and my skills to save a child, or do I murder a child? That's euphemistically called abortion. And if I'm involved heavily with the technology of the stock market when I make money, do I use it to take care of widows and orphans, or do I use it to fund terrorism, ISIS, Islam, and create widows and orphans? The practical application of our deepest held and most cherished beliefs is known as politics or government. And of course, our deepest held and most cherished beliefs are known as religion. Interesting. Re-essence is from as, essence, the DNA. What is the reality of this thing? Mom! A little boy walks into the room. Mom! Mom can't see. She's got her back to the kid. Mom, can I kill this thing? Mom thinks, what's the essence? What's the R-E? What's the essence of this thing? Is it a puppy? Oh, be nice to it. Is it a rattlesnake? Kill it. Religion. Ligion, tie that binds. Marriage, the tie that binds. Religion. Whether it's Hinduism, note that they have the Hindu wheel on their flag. Note of the 57 Muslim countries, they have the crescent moon or star or an image of Islam somewhere. Even the Egyptian flag, while it has just stripes, it has the eagle of Saladin fighting the Crusaders. Islam is best. And or you will see that the constitutions of 53 of the 57 Muslim countries are all based on Islam. Syria is not. Malaya, Turkey, and Indonesia are not. Interesting. And in Christendom, the domain of Christ, Europe, why was it called Christendom, the domain of Christ? Because the Muslims, for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, continued to sail across the Mediterranean, their lake, Islamic lake, and they would attack the Christians. Even the American flag, while it's red, white, and blue, if you look at our Declaration of Independence, if you look at our Northwest Ordinance of 1784 and 1787, you will see clearly in Article 3 that it says religion being necessary to a constitutional republic, and it goes on from there. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 10 of the 1789 Constitution is all about the Ten Commandments, the law written on the heart. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 10, the law of nations created to survive the pirates in the Mediterranean Sea who became the Muslim pirates. I know a lot of people laugh at that and scoff at that, but all I do is ask you, please, give me proof, evidence, and facts. I'm not concerned about your yelling and screaming, which some people call fair and balanced. All I see is yelling and screaming, and there's an old dictum from the ancient Roman law, and that is, too much contention destroys the truth. Too much contention destroys the truth. That's why I don't take phone calls. That's why I don't have guests on the show. Our leaders, sadly, our leaders have fallen apart, and they absolutely refuse to understand that the basis of every common law is some type of religion. Even if it's against religion, against God, atheism, then you're left, as in the Soviet Union or the Nazi Germany, the greatest good for the greatest number, utilitarianism, which a lot of people believe in, but I don't. I have two good examples to believe why I don't believe in for the greatest good for the greatest number. Example number one, Dred Scott, 1857, according to the Supreme Court of the United States, the greatest good for the greatest number was slavery. That's simple. You have a minority who can't vote and don't have the numbers, if they could vote, to vote themselves out of slavery. So they were fleeing north to the northern states, north of the Mason-Dixon, so they could live in the land of the free and the home of the brave. It was the Supreme Court themselves operating under their morality. How do you use that hammer? To crush a skull or to build a house? How do you use the power of the pen as a Supreme Court justice? To liberate people or to enslave people? Morality is important. The greatest good for the greatest number, example number two, in the People's Court of Germany, Nazi Germany, Adolf Hitler, to get around their loose-knit form of the Bill of Rights, created a new Supreme Court, if you will, call it the People's Court. 3 Nazi members, 2 judges. The 3 Nazis always voted against the 2 judges, and so therefore they voted in, just like they did in the Dred Scott case, that black people were legal non-persons and therefore they could be chattel or property bought, sold, destroyed. Greatest good for the greatest number. That's what it was. And the Germans did the same thing with the Jewish people, executing and prosecuting the Holocaust through democracy. Very fascinating. That morality does matter. That religion does matter. And by the way, when you go back to the Declaration of Independence, we will stand before the supreme judge of the world and try our case before him. They meant Jesus. I know that sounds bizarre and crazy, but you know what? Proof, evidence, and facts, I'll listen to you. Just don't yell and scream like the guys of Fair and Unbalanced. The louder, the more obnoxious you can get. Too much contention destroys the truth. Why not just stick with the proof, evidence, and facts? Show that. They don't do it. Religion, indeed, is the basis of every type of government for the last 6,000 years of recorded history. It's so easy. Okay, so let's go back and watch clip 16 again. Clip 16.
Security around the world.
Was there an outside contractor used for security in Amsterdam? And also, what is really lacking always for us is you don't give the motivation of why they want to do us harm.
I should take the first part, and then John, you can address the second.
The screening at Schiphol Airport was done by Dutch authorities, and they did the screening that was described to you earlier this afternoon. The hand luggage was screened, the passport was checked, he went through a magnetometer, but it was done by Dutch authorities.
And what is the motivation? We never hear what you find out or why.
Al-Qaeda is an organization that is dedicated to murder and wanton slaughter of innocents. What they have done over the past decade and a half, 2 decades, is to attract individuals like Mr. Abdul Muttallah and use them for these types of attacks. He was motivated by a sense of religious sort of drive. Unfortunately, Al-Qaeda has perverted Islam and has corrupted the concept of Islam so that he's able to attract these individuals. But Al-Qaeda has the agenda of destruction and death.
And you're saying it's because of religion?
I'm saying it's because of an Al-Qaeda organization that uses the banner of religion in a very perverse and corrupt way.
Why?
I think this is a long issue, but Al-Qaeda...
Why? Religion? Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. She's asking a question, why do they want to harm us? Why do they want to injure us? Why do they want to kill us? She's confused. She's asking a moral question. What is the morality behind these people wanting to injure us? Janet Napolitano goes to technology. Well, we used magnometers and the technology of the Dutch people. But Helen Thomas is asking, why? Why? What's the what's the essence? What's the sine qua non? Why do these people want to injure us? And they come back as the chronological, ethnocentric, intellectual class does today, thinking that because we have high-level technology, which I love, I enjoy, I use it all the time, but I use my technology, I use my Facebook, and I use my email, I use my communications system, which is extensive, to get out proof, evidence, and facts to protect boys, girls, women, and children, so that we can all live in a land with the highest degree of peace, order, liberty, and prosperity. I don't use cell phones to trigger suicide bombers 10,000 miles away. I don't do that. But why does this group that follows what did Mohammed do, why do they do that? Because they perverted Islam? No, just the opposite. Because they follow exactly what did Mohammed do. Let us look at what did Mohammed do in clip number 9. Clip number 9.
This graphic video sparked international outrage when it hit YouTube nearly 2 years ago. It shows U.S. Marines urinating on dead Taliban soldiers in Afghanistan. One of those Marines lives in North Carolina, and now for the first time he's speaking out only to Eyewitness News.
He told Eyewitness News anchor Allison Lottis why he has no regrets.
Captured on camera. American Marines in combat uniform urinated on the bloody bodies of Taliban fighters in Afghanistan. Staff Sergeant Joseph Chamberlain was one of them. And for the first time since the 2011 incident, he's speaking out about what happened before they pressed record. Chamberlain says the sniper team he led was on a mission to stop Taliban insurgents from making IEDs.
These are the same guys that were killing our family, killing our brothers.
One of those brothers, Sergeant Mark Bradley, was killed by an IED blast just days before.
Did the rest of your platoon want to get revenge for that?
I'm sure. I mean, we're human. Who wouldn't? If you lost your brother or mother, wouldn't you want revenge?
After a gun battle in enemy territory, Chamberlain says nearly a dozen Taliban were dead, and he and his colleagues were ordered to recover the bodies. That's when the incident happened.
Not like it was a conscious thought or decision. It was just like, you know what, on these guys. And then someone was like, okay, yep, on them.
That video and that behavior could put other Americans and other troops in danger. Did you think about that?
No, and that's, if anything, it was more of a psychological effect on the enemy because of their cultural belief. If an infidel touches the bodies, they're not going to Mecca or to paradise. So now these insurgents see what happens when you mess with us.
Do you regret doing that?
I regret.
So I agree with him. Romans 13:4. That guy is the operating as a sword under the minister of God, known as a civil magistrate, to terrify the terrorists, to execute wrath. And actually, what he's doing, he's exactly right. Now, these folks following what did Mohammed do, go out and kill themselves, thinking they're going to get 72 babes. But what he said was very interesting based on what did Mohammed do. He's following correctly, understanding the common law of the Taliban of Islam. And that is, if he desecrates the body by urinating on it, pissing on it, you can look that word up in the Bible, by the way, if you're clutching your Bible and thinking, what an evil man. David pissed on the wall. If you're going to go to battle, you need to understand your enemy. And you need to understand Romans 13:4, and that you are to wreak vengeance, kill these people, make them absolutely terrified. And actually what he's doing, he's absolutely right. He said we're sending a message to them by peeing on them, by pissing on them, that they won't get into heaven. And maybe that would stop them from doing that. Facts, evidence, and proof. You may not like it. You can yell and scream all you want. Too much contention destroys the truth. But the proof, evidence, and facts, a young man's absolutely 100% right. And when you consider Helen Thomas and that our leaders absolutely refuse to understand the basis of the common law of Islam, and we're going to war, allegedly, to create a constitutional republic in Iraq and Afghanistan, and we wrote the Constitution based on Islam, which has never permitted a constitutional republic, which has never permitted a First Amendment, freedom of religion, or the people to peaceably assemble to petition for redress of grievances, or majority rules with minority rights. The kid's right. Shame on the Marine Corps for what they did for the same reason that I was fired by the Marine Corps, by the leader of IMF, because he said we have to be politically correct. Really? You throw out proofs, evidence, and facts, know your enemy so that you can do what? Be weak, lie, misrepresent, fraud. Omission of the truth is a form of lying. Interesting. Now, let's take a look at how the Marine Corps leader, I support the staff sergeant for what he did. I have no problem with that. If you think it's ugly and evil, then I would suggest please don't be a frontline soldier or a Marine. It's real simple. The calling to go out and to be a person after God's own heart, David, a man who made mistakes, but he protected God's people. That's being a man after God's own heart. 1 Timothy 5:8, a man who does not care for his family is worse than a non-believer. Protecting your family means you pick up the gun and you do self-defense. Non habet legem is a Latin for self-defense knows no law. Thou shalt not murder also means thou shalt risk your life, give up your life to stop murder. Turn a cheek had to do with insults, had nothing at all to do with self-defense. Nothing at all to do with self-defense. This is a very shameful clip here. I'm ashamed of this 4-star Marine Corps general. clip number 7. Clip number 7.
To the noble people of Afghanistan, Salamu Alaikum. I'm General John Allen, Commander of the International Security Assistance Force. I've ordered an investigation into a report I received during the night that ISAF personnel at Bagram Air Base improperly disposed of a large number of Islamic religious materials, which included Quran.
I'm ashamed of that, General. He just waved the white flag. He just cut the legal foundation out from underneath that young Marine that pissed on those bodies and all the other kids over there fighting. And for that weak argument, don't you, that reporter, politically correct, saying, don't you know you put other Americans at risk? Well, let me get this right. You're on the front lines of combat and you're worried about making the enemy angry? Are you kidding me? Lady, maybe you should go to the hairdresser and get your toenails and fingernails done, but I don't think you should be frontline combat. United States Marine Corps and the United States Army Infantry, our job in the infantry is not to make people of the other side happy, but to make them retreat, to surrender, or die. It's that simple. Romans 13:4 completes the picture. It's real simple. The minister of God operating to defend his community, his common law-based government, sends out young men to go out and kill the enemy, to drive them away. One of the greatest battles in the history of the world, Charles Martel, under the approval of the Pope at that time, in 732 AD, defeated a huge army of Muslims, raping, pillaging, murdering, doing all the things that they do, taunting them, laughing at them after they defeated them and driving them hundreds and hundreds of miles back over the Pyrenees Mountains into Spain, where those Muslims wreaked hell on the Spaniards for 700 years. Those who do not know history are forced to repeat it. And when I was trying to communicate to the Marine Corps history of Islam, how they operate, know your enemy, and their response was, we have to be politically correct. That is a surefire formula for a battle plan that has no way to go but failure. And that's exactly what happened. And I will debate and argue with any of these guys at any level, 4 stars or not. I have a ton of combat experience in Vietnam, and I was a battle planner, and I understand it really well. And any time you operate where you are afraid to engage and destroy the enemy, or to put the fear into the enemy so they won't attack, which is a very proper military idea, then you should be relieved of duty. That general is retired making a ton of money. The guy that got me fired from the Marine Corps is retired making a ton of money. I think, hey, Adam, I think we got our clips mixed up. Try clip number 9 again. If we already reviewed it, let's move on. Try 9 again. 9.
خلينا نشوف الدور القطري، نسمع في دعم الجماعات الإسلامية المسلحة عموما وداعش بشكل خاص، عشان لما نيجي نتكلم عن دور داعش أو الدولة الإسلامية في العراق وسوريا فيما يحدث في سيناء من قتل لجنودنا وتفجيرات وتفخيخ، نعرف الحدوتة جاية منين، عشان البهوات عندنا نشوف هياخدوا أي قرار بعد ما يسمعوا المكالمات دي والكلام ده، هياخدوا أي قرار بخصوص سفيرنا في قطر. نسمع هذا التقرير ونرجع نتكلم تاني.
الدعم القطري للإرهاب. في ليلة ظلماء من ليالي أنبار العراق، توجه قائد ملثم إلى الأراضي السورية ومعه ثلة من المقاتلين وصناديق تحوي في باطنها ملايين
I cut the clip at that point in time because that gentleman, if you can call him a gentleman, is a member of the Kosovo Liberation Army Kosovo, which we helped liberate, which is basically Taliban, Al-Qaeda, Muslim Brotherhood. He's over in Iraq aiding and abetting ISIS to destroy and kill. He's using the weapons and the techniques that we gave to the Muslim world in Kosovo, Albania, and Bosnia, which used to be the old Ottoman Empire, where the Ottoman Muslims used to attack the Christians. The only area there left in that area that's Christian is Serbia now. We actually attacked the Serbian churches and aided and abetted Taliban. My own son's army unit aided and abetted the Kosovo Liberation Army, standing down a Christian unit. Now, I know all of these different things, too much contention destroys the truth, proof, evidence, and facts. The reason I showed that clip is because that European Muslim is now, if he's still alive, is in Iraq, and he's part of ISIS, destroying, killing, maiming, raping, doing all the things. I've seen the uncensored clips, and I know what Islam does. I know exactly what they do. I have had death threats and suicide bomb threats against me. I know. I understand that stuff. For those of you who doubted, I was under FBI protection right after the Benghazi murders of the ambassador and the other 3 unfortunate fellows who were killed through the incompetence of Hillary Clinton. By the way, when we go on Dish TV, one of my foci will be to use my personal experiences with my own friend thrown in federal prison by Obama and Hillary Clinton, and I will be able to go on real TV where people are actually, millions of people will be watching for the first time in their lives, and I will say I suffered directly under Obama and Hillary, them using the FBI trying to arrest me, but I have an absolutely clean record. And you'll remember after the Benghazi episode broke, she swore she was going to get the makers of the video, and she included me in that too. But I have a clean record. The only reason they threw my buddy into jail is he's a political prisoner. And she was trying to cover her tracks because she is absolutely 100% responsible for the death of the ambassador and the 3 other fellows, because she did not have the intelligence or the competence as that CIA director, John Brennan, thinking that we can get along with people who operate under the dictum of what did Mohammed do? And what you see in ISIS, what you see Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, stealing, kidnapping all the little girls over there. There you go. Okay, we'll end kind of a sardonic, bitter humor note. Clip number 15. Clip number 15.
But first, remember that country we invaded a little while back that was... No, that was too far back. That's... No, that was a shadow coup. That wasn't an invasion. That was a police action. That was a giant step for all mankind. I'm talking about Iraq. That's the Rock. Thank you. Iraq! Remember? We invaded it because of 9/11 and weapons, and then we had to pretend that we were really trying to bring democracy and stability to the Middle East. I mean, I don't remember what happened over there, but I guess history will be the judge.
In Iraq, where American troops left more than 2 years ago, insurgents are making a comeback this morning. The country's second largest city, Mosul, is under control of militants.
Whoa, slow down, Judge History.
And show the picture of Mohammed. There you go. That gentleman is an official with Homeland Security, and that 4-finger logo states that he supports the Muslim Brotherhood, which wants to replace our Constitution of the United States with what did Muhammad do, which is what ISIS is doing in Iraq. And then the other photograph of the other 4 fingers there. And there you can see the ISIS, we support ISIS logo over the top of the 4 fingers. Thank you very much, Adam. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be back on next Thursday. This will be posted on YouTube, and to each and every one of you, adieu.
في كتير طرق وسط الحياة تاهوا فيها ناس